everyone, and welcome back to another episode of So You Want to Be a Millionaire. I'm your co-host, Sharla Brown, joined with the one and only amazing Jacquie Somerville, where today we're going to be talking about how to reignite your passion to be prosperous in 2021. And isn't that so important, Jacquie? Being prosperous and the fact that, hey, we're halfway through the year and lots of times we lose our steam, we lose sight of our big goals and dreams. And today we're going to light that on fire. How are you today, Jacquie?
I'm doing great, Sharla. Yes, it's so interesting to notice how people were so gung-ho in January and now suddenly it's kind of tapered off. And just because 6 months have passed does not mean, if you haven't made great progress or you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve in the last 6 months, does not mean you can turn that around on a dime. I always remind everybody that in any moment in our lives, we could be 5 minutes, 1 day, 1 week away from meeting the love of our lives. We could be 10 minutes away from a multi-million-dollar idea. All of these things can happen in a nanosecond. One of our clients said to us yesterday, oh, but this is going to take a lot of time. I realized that. No, there is no such thing as time in divine mind. Things can happen instantly and they can take a lot of time. But we know that everything is always happening on divine timing and that divine timing is never, ever wrong. So we really could be 1 day away from a multi-million-dollar jackpot, 1 day away from a multi-million-dollar idea, one walk down the street away from meeting the man or the woman of our dreams. It's really fascinating and wonderful. So I want you to reignite your enthusiasm, reignite your passion for your dreams. And don't be dulled down by the fact that perhaps the first 6 months have not delivered what you kind of thought that they would. And we'll get into some of the reasons why things don't work out the way we want them to, why manifestation sometimes takes longer or doesn't happen at all. And it's never because the laws in the universe have changed or aren't working. It's because of stuff we're doing that's blocking it. And so you can be a second away from millions, a second away from love, a second away from complete joy and happiness at all times. Remember that. So we're going to reignite that today.
Absolutely. And that your life can change like that
Mm-hmm.
in a split second. And the thing is that lots of times we're banking on, setting all these big goals and dreams on January 1st. And then by the third week in January, they're all out the window. We said we're on a diet and we're going to lose this weight. And then all of a sudden, 1 month later, you're off the wagon. Or, you have all these big goals for your business and you're going gung-ho, but you start getting discouraged because it's not resulting and it's not happening as fast as you want it to happen. And so you throw it all out the towel just before the big sale arrives. It's so many times that we've seen this happen. And the whole idea is that it's not about January 1st. It's not about the next Monday or, the start of the month or any of that kind of stuff. Is that when you make a decision that, this is the journey and it's not about the destination. It truly is about the journey. And the whole point of being consistent in your actions and trusting in that divine, letting go of how it's going to happen for you, because as women, lots of times we want to control everything and figure it out for ourselves, and that's just not the way it is. Our job is to take those inspired actions, be consistent in it, be able to keep our vibration high, have the energy and enthusiasm about what we're doing all of the time, and trusting that the universe has our back, that it's all being prepared, conspired, the pieces are being put together so that you're not throwing in the towel, the moment that it was just about to really start unfolding for you. And we've seen that time and time again. And so that's what we want to do today, is really teach you some, tips, some things for goal setting, some things that's going to keep your energy up, to keep you excited throughout the year, and really knowing that, hey, your big break could be today. It could be next week. It could be next month. And so, having that same energy and excitement about what you're doing so that all those things can continue to unfold exactly as they're supposed to unfold. So, Jacquie, what is some advice that you would like to start with to help our viewers be able to do that?
So this is going to sound maybe a little like a stuck record to those people who listen and tune in all the time, but it cannot be said enough until it is deeply understood and lived by, that whatever we have in our lives is because of our state of consciousness, of the state that we are living in. If we are living in a happy, prosperous mental state, that is when external prosperity meets us there. It doesn't happen the other way around. So it's keeping up that state. It's keeping up in that state of prosperity. It's keeping in that state of joy and happiness, regardless of what is going on externally, regardless of what the bank account says, regardless of who is upset with you, regardless of who's threatening to leave you. If we can, as much as possible, maintain a state of well-being, a state of prosperity, that is when it catches up with us in the material world. How does one do that? Quite simply, in a word, through faith. Through faith and complete surrender. Faith tells me that no matter what is going on externally, everything, all is well. All is well. Faith tells me that. So when I'm struggling to be in a state of joy, in a state of prosperity because of something that's happening externally, I got to go within. I got to go into my inner being, have a conversation with God, with the divine, with the universal force, with spirit, have a conversation and realize that nothing external needs to bother me at all, because the divine is my source. Everything is unfolding as it should. I can have complete faith and completely surrender to that, which is why I can stay in a state of prosperity and in a state of well-being, regardless of what is happening externally in the world, regardless of what the news says, regardless of what somebody else told me, regardless of what your bank account says, regardless of anything. Your job is to stay in a state of well-being no matter what. And as I say, I do that through deep connection to the divine, through a deep faith that everything is unfolding as it should at all times. So that's it, really, Sharla. That's the first thing that I want to say is, like I said, I'm like a stuck record with this, but our state of being is determining what we have. It's determining our life. It's determining what's showing up materially. It's determining the people, the opportunities. Our state of being is determining that all the time. Who are you being? What is your energy? Who are you portraying to the world? Who are you being? Because that determines your bank account. That determines the amount of love in your life. You get to decide. And as I say, I do that through always going back to faith. And when I'm flailing, I go, Jacqueline, you haven't been meditating enough. You haven't been talking to God enough. You've gone into your head. Your small mind is taken over. You're letting all sorts of external shit get in the way. Go back within. Go back to the soul. The soul knows all the answers. What state are you being in? Go back to being in that state regardless of what's happening externally. Hard to hear, I know, especially for those who are listening to us, maybe in a state of survival, right? Especially financial problems, or you've been left by your husband or your wife or whatever. These are the times when, or you've lost somebody in your life. These are the times when it's extraordinarily difficult to listen to something like this and to believe it. And all I know is that there is never, ever the wrong time to go within, to have a conversation with one's soul and with God, with the spirit, to really strengthen that relationship with this benevolent universe that is kind, that always wants the best for us. And when we go within and we strengthen that relationship, everything else lightens up. And we can see the wood for the trees. So what state of being are you in right now? Because it is determining your prosperity externally.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll go in a little bit about that state of being, because for a lot of us, hey, it's an all or nothing. If you haven't achieved and checked all those little boxes off and achieved everything that you wanted to achieve, then it's all out the window and you give up and you throw in the towel. We've seen it time and time again. And that's definitely not the way to be. It is about the journey. All of a sudden, you're doing really well. You're on your health and fitness plan. You're doing everything. And then all of a sudden, life throws you a curveball and you break into the chocolate or you eat the whole pie. But it doesn't mean it's one small little thing in the grand picture of your life. It's how do you get back on track right away, and doing the best you can given your circumstances, what's going on right now in your life. And so that can happen in our business as well. You might be trying to, advertise, put video out there, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, this doesn't work. And you just stop doing it all together. And, you're flailing around constantly as opposed to like, hey, maybe I just need to make a little bit of 1 or 2 tweaks or a little bit of an adjustment or whatever, as opposed to just the all or nothing. And, that's a lot of times what gets us into trouble. One of the other things that can get us into trouble is, comparing yourself to others or what other people are doing or where they've gotten to this point in terms of the level of success that they've achieved. And that can be so detrimental, to our success as opposed to what everybody else is doing. This is your path. This is your journey. And so it's going to come in its own divine timing. And there could be something bigger and greater than that's beyond of what you're trying to control in your life. That's just waiting for you. I think of so many times if I would have been pig-headed, which is my natural state, let's be honest. Any other stubborn women who's out there say that I want to do things a certain way and I want these results and this is how I want it to work out. And I've had to let go of that in my life and trust that God has a bigger plan for my life. And oh Lord, I would have never imagined, what God had in store. And if I would have been so narrow-minded to just see things the way I wanted to see things as opposed to really trusting, God's big picture, I wouldn't have accomplished near what I've accomplished, to this point. And really trusting in that and letting go of, what you think has to happen by a certain date or in a certain way or whatever the case is, always having an open mind and an open heart and really trusting that, God does have a bigger plan and that, when you let go and you can surrender those things, that magic truly happens. You just start watching miracles, show up out of the blue. And I think a lot of times God's just waiting for us to surrender and to trust us because, the universe, it's always there. It's always there. It's whether we decide to tap in and connect to that, or if we decide like, hey, I think I know better and I'm just going to go it on my own. The last thing I want to add about that is just being kind and compassionate to yourself. We beat ourselves up over these things over and over again. You're stupid or you're not enough or whatever the case is that you keep telling yourself. And that is never going to get you to where you want to go. Kindness, self-love, self-compassion, that is what's always going to serve you. That's what taps you into your divine when everything's calling you to your greatness, that even when you're going through your darkest hours, that God has your back and it's all going to work out exactly as it's supposed to work out. Whether you've lost that job and it's helping you to build that successful business, whether it's, the spouse that leaves, that's bringing you to the dream relationship you wanted to be in anyway, you really got to trust that everything's working out exactly as it's supposed to, and that nothing's ever connected to just one thing that, we get hooked up on. So that's a lot that I said there, Jackie, but, definitely some important points that I've learned in my own life.
Yeah, and so true, Sharla. And you talked about by this date and demanding dates from God and stuff, which is such an interesting point. And it is something that I've wrestled with over the years based on the fact that so many people teach how to ask the divine for something by a certain date. So you set your goals, you put it up there and you say, by such and such a date, I'm going to have a $5 million house or whatever the case may be. And I've gone back and forth over this and experimented wildly with this over the years. And I've come to the conclusion, based on my own experience, that putting a date on God is not on the divine, on the universe, on intention, is not necessarily a good thing, contrary to how we're often taught. Because I realized, when you look back on how I manifested millions of dollars the first time around, if if I had sort of logically thought, well, I'm going to have all of the things that I'd put on my list, we're going to take about, let's face it, maybe about $10 million or more, right? So if I'd said, okay, well, I would like to have this farm and this wardrobe and these animals and these horses and this penthouse and this first class travel by such and such a date, I would never have put within 2 months of writing it down. Because who in their right mind would think that you could manifest $10 million in 2 months? And yet, because I just got into the state of the woman that already had all of those things, and I just believed and trusted that I didn't need to worry about how, and I didn't need to put a date on it, that I needed to know that right now in this moment all was well, that I was enough, that I had enough, that God had me, that I was doing the best and being the best that I could be in this moment, that everything, all of those millions happened within 8 weeks or 2 to 3 months or whatever the case may be. So we limit God, first and foremost, by putting dates. We get too involved with our own logic and reason when we put a date on something. And we also can force things to happen in ways that aren't under grace in a perfect way when we get really bullshit with the divine and go, well, I needed this by now. Well, we could get rear-ended and get paid that way, but who wants to get rear-ended and have health problems, right? So sometimes we can force the divine to give us what we're asking for by being super forceful with stuff like that. So I always say it's best not to have a date. It's best to just have the power of intention, make the divine, the universe know what it is that you truly desire, and then go about being the best you can be with the resources you have right now and living in the state of that woman who's already received that. Walk down the street as though you've got it. You've got the house already. You've got the Lamborghini already. You've opened the school for those kids already. You've done all that already. How does that woman walk? How does she show up in her life? What does she do on a daily basis? I bet she doesn't lounge around and watch Netflix in her pajamas until noon. Right? These are the sorts of things. Once we start living in the state of that person, what else happens? So many other things in our lives get right? We start making healthier choices. We start being more productive. Why? Because we've usurped that personality. We have had the audacity to become her. Rather than waiting for the money in the house to show up in order to become her, we become her first, because that is why the house and the money shows up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, it is trusting in divine timing and asking for these things under grace in a perfect way. As Jacquie says, you don't want that millions to show up from a car accident. You want it to show up because of a successful business. You want it to show it up because you randomly decided to buy a lottery ticket, under grace in a perfect way. And also, practicing that gratitude and being able to ask and saying, I'm so thankful and grateful now that, I always ask for what I'm wanting in my life, in my business, in a state of gratitude. And that really changes the energy and dynamics of everything, so that you become a magnet to attracting what you want to attract. And, we always say, ask for, when you do your ask is saying this or better, because God and the universe can do so much better than our little mindset. Like lots of times, we decide, well, I'd be happy with this house, or I'd be whatever. But God might say, like, hey, no, you need a second home in the Caribbean, or hey, no, like we want to do this with your business. Like I always say, what I imagined for, even one woman, and what one woman is today, I'm just so thankful and grateful to God and the universe to have that picture and vision for my life. And my job was just to step into it. My job was to just be open to it. And that's what all of our jobs are, is just to, like I said, have an open mind and an open heart, know what you want, set some goals for yourself, but, being open to whatever the universe has in store for you, this or better. Absolutely. So there's so many things I think that we can talk about, Jacquie, when it comes to, and one of the things that always comes to mind to me is that, Life constantly changes and evolves. As to what those first goals that you set up for at the beginning of the year, January looked a whole lot different than June. We were still very uncertain as to what the world was going to look like. COVID was very much a part of our lives, and we did the best we could being in those circumstances, but our circumstances constantly change and evolve. And so we need to be fluid in our thoughts and our actions and our beliefs as to, what's going on, so that it's like, hey, I am still excited about this. This is what I need to do yet. This isn't working anymore. This is what I feel called to do. I just got a divine download. I need to follow this. You've really got to be open to that, because now we've hit into June and the world's opening again. So, the plan that I had in January now has totally shifted. Just as much as when COVID had happened, we had to pivot to be able to make things work and look at things from a different perspective. That's where we're at again. And so never to worry about, all these things that I was going to do and how they worked or didn't work. It's the fact that every day we can choose and decide to be open and fluid to that and say, hey, there's a whole other energy that's out there now. As the world opens up, what is it that I want to do? And, how do I want to do it? And, ask for it under grace in a perfect way.
Yes, exactly right, Sharla. It also reminds me of another important point I wanted to make today, which is to stop dreaming in stepping stones. Because sometimes when the middle of the year hits, we've started to kind of shrink a little bit. And we had all these grandiose dreams in the beginning of the year, and then they haven't been met yet, or we maybe have not done all the things we said we were going to do. So we haven't kept promises to ourselves. So we've shrunk and we've shrunk and we've shrunk. So we start dreaming in stepping stones. And I always say, you've got to dream in the very big picture, the biggest picture that you can see for your for life, your ideal life right now, and leave the stepping stones up to the divine universe. Leave the stepping stones up for that, because you just need to dwell in your meditation, in your imagination sessions, dwell on the biggest picture you could ever possibly imagine. Live in that beautiful home, the most beautiful one, not the stepping stone house. Drive the car of your dreams, not the stepping stone car. Do that in your imagination meditation sessions. Leave the stepping stones up to the divine. If they're meant to be stepping stones, they will show up. But I remember going and looking at a little apartment down the road from my little rental apartment back then. When was that? 25 years ago, whenever it was, when my life did a 180. And I remember going into to apartment, which at the time was so out of my price range. I think it was about $600,000 or $700,000 back then. And I was like, oh gosh, see, this is where I'd like to live. This is where, this is great. And I would dwell on that little apartment. But then when I realized that I wasn't dreaming big enough and that was what would be keeping me small, I laid out that big dream that had no stepping stones in it. And I started to go there. I started to just dream in my imagination sessions about the big dream. And I let that little stepping stone apartment go, even though at the time that stepping stone apartment was out of my reach. It was still way out of my reach, but was it my absolute dream? No, my dream was what I wrote down in that journal that day. And God completely bypassed that stepping stone. Completely blew it out of the water. Because I got the farm, I got the house in the sun, I got the penthouse in the sky, I got everything within months, and I didn't need the stepping stone. So I want to tell you to stop dreaming in stepping stones. If there is a stepping stone on your journey, I promise you it will show up and you need to take it. It's just like I dreamt as a little kid of living in America, and I got that big 20-year stepping stone of Canada that God showed me and put in my life. I took it. I didn't go, well, I'm living in Johannesburg now, but that's not America. I was like, God, you're giving me Canada. Canada's really close. There must be a reason. And boy, what a joy for me to have become a Canadian citizen and to have lived in Vancouver for 20 years. Now, looking back, I wouldn't have wanted to skip that stepping stone for all the world. God always knows best, but I didn't plan that stepping stone. God put that stepping stone there for me. And all of a sudden, one day, I ended up living on the water in Los Angeles by another whole set of miracles. So don't dream in stepping stones. But when they show up, they're from God, take them. The dream needs to always be the big picture. Always.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's where we'll kind of leave things is some tips as to how to reignite that spark in you. As I always say to a lot of our clients is, how do we, light that firecracker back under your ass so that you are excited about what you're doing every day? Because lots of times we get bogged down in the hows and the details and all that kind of crazy stuff. So I thought what we could do is maybe share some of the things that keep us excited about what we're doing, keeps us excited about our life. And that's really where the key is that your job is to keep your energy and enthusiasm up. And I think that really comes down to really going back to why. Why is this important to you? Why did you want to do it in the first place? Like, why is it that you're so passionate about this? And really reflecting on that as to what I can do for your life, which I think really leads into, going back and dreaming big. Lots of times, we'll dream in the stepping stones or we'll start playing small. We'll get into our small mind and start, feeling like, this is our reality. This is all it's going to be and all that kind of stuff. And it's really important to keep that energy and vibration up. I know one of the things that you do, Jacquie, with our clients is the meditations and the Imaginate sessions. And these are things that everyone can do. Lots of times it helps when you have somebody who can guide you through it and, that can, catch you when you're saying things that, aren't serving your best interests and goods. But, maybe you can talk about that as one of your most powerful tools that you use to be able to keep you in that state.
Oh, the imagination is the most powerful and the most underutilized gift that us human beings have been given. I don't believe any other living being, it seems, has the power of imagination. It's a very incredible gift from God that we have been given. And Einstein said that imagination was more important than knowledge. He said imagination encircles the world, whereas knowledge is limited. Imagination is the reason why we send people to the moon and into space. Imagination is the reason why we can get from Los Angeles to London in 9 hours' time. Imagination is the reason why we're sitting here right now, live streaming our own friggin' show on the internet. Imagination is why all of these things have happened. Imagination is how I got millions and millions and millions of dollars and all my dreams came true. Imagination is how Sharla began one of the largest women's empowerment organizations in the world and touches lives because she had the audacity to imagine. And as she said, she didn't even imagine it as big, but God always delivers bigger. I never imagined mine as big as it came either. That's the beauty of opening up and not limiting yourself, because when you do, God goes, I see you. I see you. You're doing it all right. You're dreaming big. You're imagining. You're believing for it. You're walking in the direction of it. I'm going to meet you there and take you beyond. That's what happens. So the power of imagination, if you're not doing it, please start setting aside just a few minutes a day to imagine your most ideal life. What helps? Well, look right behind me. Pictures help. Videos help. Scrolling online for magnificent hotels and beautiful homes. By the way, this is one of my big tips. I don't ever research anything cheap. If I researched something cheap, guess what? It's going to show up as an ad in my feed, and I never want anyone to advertise something cheap to me. No, I research 5-star hotels, and if I've had to look at something else, I make sure that before I end that session, I go back on the Four Seasons Resorts website, or I go back to the Lamborghini website, because those are the ads I want to see in my feed. Because I want to be in that state. I am operating as the woman who stays in Four Seasons, as the woman who gets marketed $5 million homes, not $500,000 homes. I'm the woman who gets the ads for the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and the Bentleys. Don't be advertising a Toyota to me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. These are some of the tools and tips that I use to keep myself in that state of vibration. Because it's never about going and spending money that you don't have. It's about living in the imagination of it. That's what it is. when we can imagine ourselves as a powerful, successful businesswoman who opens schools, who starts a foundation, who empowers other women around the world, when we can imagine ourselves as that and we can then walk in the state of that woman, that is when it happens in our lives. Imagination is something I will put money on you're not using enough. And that when you do, it will change your friggin' life. It's the single most powerful thing we have. And it's beautiful. It costs us nothing. And it's right at our fingertips all the friggin' time, Sharla. It always blows my mind how underutilized it is.
Yes, yes. And the older we get, lots of times, we forget about that, how powerful that was. And that, as a kid, you always were imagining and you're always dreaming. And all of a sudden we feel like we got to take on the weight of the world and all these responsibilities. And we stop doing that. But it's so important because that is what creates your reality. That is what shapes your entire life is your imagination. If you can see it in your mind, God will deliver it. And so it's so powerful to take the time to do that. And it's so much fun, flip through those magazines or, surf the net and find that dream home or whatever it is that you want to have in your life and achieve. If you can see it, you can feel it as if it's already there, through your imagination, how powerful that can be. Before you know it, you're walking in the front door. Absolutely. The other thing that I want to mention that I know we both are big proponents of is have fun. Lord gosh, have fun. Fun. We forget to have fun. We get, take on all these responsibilities and all these things that we need to do. We get caught up in our mind and the fear and the worries and the doubts, all that kind of stuff. And fun changes everything. If you are enjoying your life, you're not thinking about worries and doubts and fears and all that kind of stuff or things that might happen or could and all that kind of stuff, really having fun because, life, we have this one precious life. You better darn well enjoy it. And knowing that you can create anything to be fun, a diet, starting a healthy, lifestyle, eating better, exercise doesn't have to be like, oh God, this is going to be horrible. You can create that as to however you want, that you look forward to it and you're excited about it every day. Like you can have fun with your business. It doesn't have to be like, well, I don't know how to do this or that. And, it's not working out for me. No, what is it that's fun? What do you enjoy doing? Asking God for the help that you need or resources or whatever the case is that when you're in that energy and that vibration, that all the needs that you have, to manifest that you want to manifest will come. But when we get stuck in the fear and the worry and the doubt, and we're not having fun, we're not having that increased energy and vibration, God's saying like, well, she doesn't trust me. And so, life is meant to be fun. And we so discount and underrate the power of just having fun. One of the clients that we work with one day, that was the only recommendation that we had for her because we listened to her go on about all of her fears, all of her worries, all of her doubts, what was coming, what she assumed was going to be coming. And our recipe was, your job is to wake up and have fun. What do you love doing? I love creating. I love writing. I love, creating, webinars or podcasts or creating videos or just talking about what I'm passionate about. That's your job. That's what you do. Because when you do what's fun, what you enjoy doing, what you love and what you're passionate about, all those other things work themselves out. That I know for sure. But we get caught up on a lot of the things that it's like not fun or that we don't want to do. And it's like, that's not where to focus your energy. Your energy is to be focused on, what is fun and turning stuff into fun so that you do enjoy doing it. There's lots of different ways. We had that yesterday with a coaching client as well, where, she didn't want to do what she was doing anymore because she hated social media marketing. And it's like, look at, we know what lights you up is speaking. Your job is to just speak, to light up your audiences and to be able to market what you do through that. It really is following your bliss. What is it that sets your soul on fire? When you constantly follow that, all the rest will fall into place.
Absolutely true, Sharla. We love the fun. Yes, indeed. Yes. fun, have fun in your business, have fun in your life. Are you getting out this weekend? Are you going outdoors? Are you moving your body? Do you dance to the music while you're brushing your teeth in the mornings? There's so many fun things we can add to mundane chores that we have to do, right? I mean, I absolutely, if I'm doing stuff that's mundane and I have to sort of get through it, whether it's folding the laundry or changing the sheets or, you know, whatever that I might be doing that's kind of bores the heck out of me, I'm listening to great podcasts. And I'm soaking all that stuff up, because when I'm learning about human nature and about prosperity and how to teach better and so on, I'm loving it. So I'm utilizing those times when I'm perhaps brushing my teeth or, you know, doing those kind of mundane chores. I'm listening to stuff, or I'm listening to music so that I move my hips in between, you know, folding my jeans or whatever, right? And there's so many ways that we can just lighten up this beautiful life. Instead, we get so bogged down as we get older and we forget to have fun. So I hope that everybody has plans this weekend to get outside, to enjoy themselves, to dance a little bit, to maybe go out with some friends. For those of us who are lucky enough to be sort of free, and yeah, for me, outdoors is a big part of fun. So is sex.
Yeah. Yes, and that's the thing, is that, you know, we lose sight of those things and all of a sudden they go by the wayside, just like imagining. And so go back to playing and having fun, whether that's with your significant other or a girlfriend's day out, or, you know, just in your business and in your life. You know, there's so many ways that we forget that we can incorporate some fun. So be mindful of that. And on the flip side of that is, you know, when things are, you know, life does throw us a curveball sometimes, and we do get in those dark moments. And so, you know, when that happens, is to be able to have that compassion for yourself and to be able to shift your energy to do what you need to do without guilt that something else is, you know, not happening. So, you know, if you have to take a break from your business because, you know, you need to be able to help your family or take care of your health and well-being or whatever the case is that, you know, that's okay. You know, like knowing, and that you can give yourself permission to do that, and that the universe knows what's going on. God knows what's going on. And so really, you know, being able to confidently do that when you need to shift your energy and take a step away from maybe your business or other things that's going on in your life, and that you have another priority, that, you know, don't hold any guilt around that. You know, we all need to be able to navigate that and to get through those moments, knowing that, you know, there is a whole divine plan that's already figured out. Yes.
Yeah, so true, Sharla. And you touched on, you know, earlier on having great compassion and kindness for ourselves. And that is so true. Deep love, compassion, and kindness for ourselves is where it all starts, I think. It really does. Because it's only when we feel love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves that we can truly go within and develop that divine connection, and then get the inspired downloads that we need to live a joyful, prosperous, and abundant life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, to have a coach that helps you with all of this is so important. You know, lots of times we feel so alone in this world. People that we feel like, you know, we don't have somebody who can talk to, that understands and gets us, that, you know, maybe somebody who's supportive of your business or a decision that you need to make, you know, whether that's, you know, going through a divorce or stepping out of a relationship or making, you know, changes in your life that, you know, you need to change. And it's so important for us to have, you know, a coach and somebody who we know we can talk to, that, you know, has an unbiased opinion and is not looking at you with any kind of judgment. You know, Jacquie and I have walked some of the darkest moments with some of our clients, you know, whether that was, you know, being on the verge of bankruptcy or having to make that decision, whether that was, you know, going through a divorce, whether that was, you know, losing a business or having to start over, whatever the case is. And the thing is that, as I said at the beginning, you know, life is about the journey. It's not about the destination. And it's all bringing you to your greatest life, and trusting in that process. Is that we've all, both Jacquie and I, you know, have had those failures in our life. We've had those dark moments in our life, and we can look at those with such love and gratitude now, because they brought us exactly to where we needed to go. And it's such a beautiful thing that when we can do that with our clients, and to be able to help them walk through, you know, those darkest moments, knowing that their brightest day is just around the corner. And it's such a beautiful feeling, isn't it, Jacquie?
It really is, Sharla. Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
This is a very kind, loving universe. And even when we don't feel like it, everything really is working out for us. And And we love helping to remind people of that, and to remind them of their faith, to remind them that they are prosperous beings, to remind them that this is an expansive universe that just wants everything for them, what they want for themselves. And to keep them in that state of prosperity, in that state of well-being, because that is what's determining what's coming to us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So if you find yourself, maybe struggling lately, that maybe you're not, being able to achieve what you're wanting to achieve, that you're feeling like you're off track, that you're needing some help, that you're needing some encouragement and support. Like I said at the beginning, Jacquie and I mentor, 100 ladies to be able to look like a million, feel like a million, impact millions, and make millions of dollars. This is something that we're passionate about. It's helping to women to have that energy, enthusiasm in their life so that they can live their best life. We should be able to live our life the way we want to be able to realize our big goals and dreams, to have massively successful businesses, and of course, to have a whole lot of fun, because we're big believers in, having fun. So if you heard something today that you say, yeah, I want to learn more, I would love to get more involved with this group, then be sure to check out our next info session and Millionaire Mastermind that's coming up tomorrow, Tuesday. And you can sign up, and we'll send you the Zoom link so that you can join us and be able to share a little bit more about what you do, about your business, and so that we can help you build and grow what you want to build and grow, and to be successful and have that $1 million life and business of your dreams. So I'll post the link in the comments below that you can get signed up for that. And we hope you've learned a lot today. Hopefully it's started to reignite your spike, that if that if you were feeling a little bit in the doom and gloom of being halfway through the year and maybe not checking all the boxes, to never worry about that maybe the box that needs to be checked is just around the corner, that God is checking off for you. You just never know. So any final words, Jacquie?
Yeah, Sharla, I think you said it. That's it. Remember, in 5 minutes time, in 10 minutes time, one day from now, you could come up with a multi-million-dollar idea. I mean, the person of your dreams, win the lottery. Everything is just waiting for you. You have to get into the state to receive it. And that state is a state of well-being and a state of prosperity now.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us, everyone, today. We'll see you next week with more on So You Want to Be a Millionaire.